Three masked men storm a supermarket, but an off-duty cop inside fires as the suspects flee, stopping one during the escape just after 1 p.m. in Carape, Trinidad. Three masked men, one armed, enter Kin Supermarket and attempt a daytime robbery, confronting the cashier while customers and staff are trapped inside the confined space. An off-duty police constable inside the store reacts instantly, drawing his personal firearm and firing toward the suspects as one actively accosts the cashier, abruptly disrupting the robbery. All three suspects flee, but the 19-year-old involved in confronting the cashier is later found injured outside after being shot and is later taken to hospital under police guard. The other two abandon him and escape. He targets mothers and children outside a school, but one parent pulls a gun and ends it in seconds. During a Mother's Day event outside a São Paulo school, a gunman approaches a group of mothers and children, threatening them. While creating panic in a crowded, vulnerable setting, an off-duty police officer among the parents quickly pushes children out of harm's way, draws her firearm, and fires as the suspect attempts to respond. Quickly ending the threat, the suspect is struck and is later found unresponsive and pronounced dead, while no bystanders are injured. The officer secures the scene and calls emergency services. A motorcycle closes in on a parked car, but within seconds, the entire plan collapses in the middle of traffic. On a busy urban street in Brazil, a motorcyclist approaches a vehicle, appearing to target the driver during a moment in slow-moving traffic, using proximity and speed to initiate the robbery. Before the robbery can fully unfold, an armed off-duty officer nearby recognizes the threat and immediately intervenes, firing and disrupting the suspect mid-action. The suspect is struck and goes down in the roadway. Police quickly secure the scene, and the intended victim remains unharmed as traffic stalls around the incident. Vehicle-based robberies rely on speed and surprise, but sudden intervention, especially from armed responders, can instantly collapse the offender's advantage and end the threat. Two men close in on a pedestrian, unaware he's about to turn and fight back without hesitation in a sudden, decisive moment. On a quiet residential street at night, two suspects approach a man walking alone, attempting to corner him near parked cars and limit his escape options completely. Instead of complying, the man suddenly draws a firearm and fires, catching the attackers off guard and breaking their advance in a split second during the confrontation. One suspect is struck and collapses onto the sidewalk, while the other immediately retreats down the street, abandoning the attempt entirely in panic and fear. Target selection is never perfect. When offenders misjudge capability, they can trigger immediate resistance that turns a controlled approach into a failed and chaotic confrontation. A masked robber charges in, then realizes too late both targets are armed and ready to respond with force. A couple sits outside a cafe when a helmeted robber suddenly rushes up, pointing a gun and attempting to take control of the situation, relying on fear and speed to overwhelm them quickly. As the man reaches for his weapon, the robber lunges and grabs him, triggering a brief struggle, but then notices the woman drawing her own gun, instantly shifting the threat dynamic. The robber immediately drops his weapon and runs. The man gives chase, firing multiple shots as the suspect escapes down the sidewalk, disappearing from view within seconds. Multi-person targets introduce hidden variables. When offenders face more than one capable response, the situation can shift instantly, forcing rapid reassessment and increasing the likelihood of withdrawal. A violent robbery unfolds until the injured clerk reaches for a gun, forcing the attacker into a sudden retreat. Late at night in Bay Point, two suspects rush into a convenience store as the clerk prepares to close. One jumps the counter, assaults the clerk, and grabs cash while maintaining control through violence and intimidation. Injured, the clerk manages to free an arm and reaches into a drawer for a handgun, triggering an immediate shift as the armed suspect abandons control and begins retreating. As both suspects sprint out, the clerk fires a single shot. One suspect goes down a block away and later dies from injuries, while the accomplice escapes and remains at large shortly after the incident. Injury does not remove threat. Offenders who lose momentum may still remain dangerous, and partial disengagement can create unpredictable movements rather than a clear end to the situation. Stopped in traffic, a driver is suddenly confronted at his window by a man pointing what appears to be a gun during daylight. In Zone 10 of Guatemala City, the suspect positions himself between lanes, targeting vehicles halted in traffic and approaching closely to threaten drivers and force immediate compliance under pressure and fear. As the man reaches the green SUV and touches the window with what looks like a firearm, the driver immediately fires from inside the vehicle. The suspect flees but collapses a short distance away. Authorities later confirm the weapon was a toy gun. The driver leaves the scene, though remaining would have led to police custody and legal review. Perceived lethal threats drive split-second decisions. When a weapon is presented, real or not, victims react to what they see, not what it turns out to be in real time. A driver intervenes in a robbery, using his car to slam into armed suspects mid-crime, turning a routine street encounter into sudden high-impact chaos. On a São Paulo street, two men on a stolen motorcycle approach a pedestrian at a gated residence. One suspect gets off, armed, and takes the victim's phone while the other waits to flee, scanning for witnesses or threats. A 50-year-old driver witnesses the robbery and accelerates into the suspects, ramming the motorcycle and pinning it against a wall, instantly disrupting their control of the situation and preventing a clean escape. The victim escapes as the suspects break free and flee. One fires a shot at the driver, but misses. The abandoned motorcycle is later seized, and the driver is treated for crash-related pain and minor injuries. Intervening can stop a crime, but it introduces serious risk, including escalation, return fire, and harm from vehicle impact in confined urban spaces with bystanders nearby. A shotgun is pointed at a clerk until a customer suddenly grabs the weapon, triggering a chaotic struggle that flips control instantly as others nearby react, and the situation spirals rapidly out of control. Inside a busy convenience store in Kamloops, a masked suspect approaches the counter with a shotgun and demands cash, catching employees off guard as customers move nearby, unaware of how quickly the situation could escalate dangerously within seconds without warning signs. A customer steps in from behind, grabbing his neck. Another joins, and together they wrestle the suspect to the ground, disrupting his ability to aim or maintain control of the weapon. The suspect is pinned as more people assist. Police arrive and take him into custody. No shots are fired, and the situation is contained before further harm occurs. Disarming an armed suspect is extremely dangerous. Close-range intervention can succeed, but timing, coordination, and immediate commitment are critical factors under extreme stress and risk. Two suspects rush a parked car. Seconds later, gunfire erupts from inside, instantly flipping control and ending the robbery attempt in chaos and confusion, as the confined space leaves no time to hesitate or escape safely. In Avellaneda, Buenos Aires, a retired federal police officer sits inside his parked Peugeot when two young men approach and allegedly point firearms at him, attempting to overwhelm him quickly at close range during daylight. Instead of exiting or complying, the driver fires from inside the vehicle, using the door and frame as partial cover, catching the suspects mid-approach before they can fully execute their plan or reposition. One suspect collapses on the street with a fatal gunshot wound, while the second flees the scene. Police arrive shortly after and secure the area, recovering a weapon nearby. Close-range vehicle ambushes happen fast. Limited space, visibility, and reaction time make these encounters unpredictable, where split-second decisions can rapidly escalate outcomes for everyone involved. A bike robbery seems under control until a sudden distraction flips the situation in seconds, completely changing who holds the advantage in a critical moment, turning the suspects from dominant to vulnerable almost instantly. In Brazil at night, two suspects target a motorcyclist who has just dropped someone off. One approaches with a firearm while the other moves in to take the bike, forcing the rider to dismount and comply under pressure and uncertainty. As a passing truck's headlights disrupt visibility, the rider seizes the moment, drawing his own weapon and issuing a warning that is ignored as both suspects remain focused on completing the robbery. Shots are fired at close range. One suspect collapses at the scene, while the other, injured, manages to flee. One is later apprehended and taken for medical treatment as authorities respond. Environmental changes affect perception. Lighting shifts, movement, or obstruction can distort timing and awareness. creating openings that alter decisions and escalate outcomes unpredictably for everyone involved. 4 robbers storm a crowded bar without realizing one customer is an off-duty police officer already watching carefully, alert to every movement around him, quietly assessing the threat and waiting for the right moment to act decisively. Inside a bar in Londrina, several customers are seated when a group of armed suspects rushes in and starts splitting up. 3 move toward the people near the entrance while another heads for the register. As the robbery starts unfolding, the off-duty officer draws his weapon and fires at the suspect nearest him. Gunfire breaks out inside the bar and the attack collapses almost instantly. 1 robber is killed at the scene while the others panic and run. The officer is also hit during the exchange and is taken to hospital as police open an investigation and search for the remaining suspects. In crowded armed robberies, the safest choice for bystanders is to get low, move away from the line of fire, and call authorities as soon as it's safe. A store employee faces a gunman, then suddenly fights back and takes control of the weapon, shifting the balance in a high-risk encounter within seconds as the situation escalates without warning. At a convenience store in Florida, a man enters armed and orders people out at gunpoint, confronting a worker who recognizes him as a regular customer and immediately senses the situation escalating beyond a typical disturbance. Instead of complying, the employee draws her own concealed firearm and forces the suspect out of the store, disrupting his control and momentum before he can fully establish dominance over everyone inside. Outside, the confrontation turns physical. She fires warning shots, wrestles him, disarms him, and holds the weapon until deputies arrive and take him into custody, preventing further harm to herself and others nearby. Familiarity can distort judgment. Recognizing a suspect may delay defensive action, but hesitation in armed encounters can narrow options and increase exposure during rapidly evolving threats. A group breaks into a home, only to be met by the owner already armed and waiting inside, completely reversing the situation within seconds, unexpectedly and decisively, catching them off guard before they can react or escape. In São Paulo, several masked suspects enter a residence through the garage, moving quickly inside while coordinating their actions and attempting to locate valuables before anyone notices their presence or raises an alarm nearby. As they move deeper into the homeowner suddenly appears armed, immediately confronting them and firing, instantly breaking their momentum and forcing them to abandon the plan without hesitation or coordination entirely. Caught off guard and fearing for their safety, the suspects turn and flee the house, sprinting out to the street and escaping in multiple directions, leaving the attempted robbery incomplete and chaotic in broad daylight. Home invasions carry high uncertainty. Offenders entering occupied spaces risk encountering unknown. Defensive responses where unfamiliar layouts and resistance can quickly destabilize coordination and force abrupt withdrawal. 2 robbers threaten a shopkeeper's wife, unaware he's watching everything on camera, ready to respond instantly. Inside a small market in Mococa, 2 masked men enter and point what appears to be a firearm at the owner's wife while she is at the counter, demanding money and taking cash from the register as another customer stands nearby, frozen and unsure how to react. Watching through the security system, the shopkeeper realizes his wife is being threatened and immediately intervenes, confronting the suspects and opening fire, completely disrupting the robbery and catching them off guard within seconds. Both suspects are hit during the confrontation. One dies at the scene, while the other attempts to flee, but is later found injured, taken to hospital, and arrested, as police begin a wider investigation into the incident. Remote awareness changes response. When incidents are observed indirectly, delayed physical presence can compress decision time and increase the intensity of intervention once action is taken. A woman grabs a backpack and runs, unaware the victim is already chasing right behind her at full speed. Outside a coffee shop in Houston, a woman sits alone at a table working when 2 suspects suddenly approach from the sidewalk. In one swift motion, they snatch her backpack containing valuables and immediately turn to run, hoping speed and surprise will prevent any reaction from her or nearby witnesses in the busy area. Instead of freezing, the victim reacts instantly. She sprints after them, quickly closing the distance despite their head start, refusing to let them escape with her belongings. She catches up to one suspect and tackles her to the ground, recovering the bag. The second suspect continues fleeing, but the immediate resistance disrupts the theft and forces the situation to collapse. While instinct may drive people to pursue stolen property, chasing suspects carries serious risks. Maintaining awareness, prioritizing personal safety, and involving authorities is usually the safer and more controlled response. An off-duty officer holding his infant suddenly faces armed robbers. What happens next unfolds in seconds, with no room for hesitation and no margin for error, as a routine moment turns into a life-threatening confrontation without warning. Inside a São Paulo pharmacy, an off-duty officer shops with his wife and baby when two armed suspects enter and announce a robbery, moving quickly and attempting to control the environment while customers are caught off guard. One suspect points a gun directly at him. Still holding his child, the officer draws his weapon and fires, instantly shifting control and disrupting the robbery before the suspects can fully establish dominance. Both suspects are shot during the exchange. The officer then moves to secure the scene before handing his child back to his wife, as the situation stabilizes and authorities are later notified to take over. Armed encounters are unpredictable and escalate instantly. Distance, awareness, and avoiding confrontation whenever possible remain the safest options, especially around others, as even brief moments of escalation can carry serious and lasting consequences. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.